Good evening, Doc Severson here for the ReadySetCrypto OMNIA trade of the day for Sunday, August 2nd. A week ago when I was making this report, the price of Bitcoin was just starting to break 10,000 and I didn't give it much of a shot. I thought it'd get hauled back down again, but if we had enough volume, I thought that we had a good shot to break out. And we did. We did have enough volume. And we got some follow-up volume above and beyond that, which was the real key towards this hitting the 12,000 mark, which we haven't seen for a long time. Now, what I talked about a couple of days ago in our last report was that this is not going to be sustainable, this breakout move. Eventually, it's going to move into some type of consolidation or pullback. And guess what? We got them all today. We got not only a higher high, but so far a lower low. This is a, a huge range bound candle. This shows indecision. And a lot of this, I think, is because of the weekend volume is sometimes a little lower. We don't have the institutions jumping on board with this. Things should tend to revert back to the mean. Again, normally when we have something like this that gets into exhaustion, we go sideways or down or somewhere in between. And we've kind of done all of that all in one day, but this has to go on for just a little bit longer. Now, what I said was when Bitcoin in the top 10 does go into consolidation or pullback or some type of corrective behavior, that is going to be the time for trades on selected altcoins. It's not going to be altcoin season per se. It's if we have the markets generally rallying and going higher, then if you want to trade altcoins, what you have to do is look for your opportunity. Again, if you're trading an altcoin versus BTC, a little bit of mathematics helps. If you understand what happens with fractions, is if the denominator in your fraction goes up by a lot, and if the numerator just kind of goes sideways or goes up a little bit, the overall value of the entire trade goes down because that denominator is what's going on. Because when you trade in this manner, when you trade BTC as the denominator or the reference currency, in effect, what you're doing is you're going long on the altcoin, you're going short on the reference currency or Bitcoin. And if you're going short on Bitcoin while it's doing this sort of thing, you're going to have problems with your trade. And we've seen that over the last week as we've gotten into some of these other assets that we track. We don't track that many altcoins. A lot of these, have had a bad week as per BTC. A lot of these have had bad week or at least have fallen into some type of consolidation, which is good. That's fine. We just have to understand the relationship of these two and not sort of bang that square peg into a round hole. So in other words, if BTC or if you're trading versus Ethereum, if they're going sky high, then hold off on the altcoins and join the top 10 rally. So we'll get to the trade of the day here in a minute. I don't think it's going to be a surprise to anybody. What I do want to do, though, at least once a week, is kind of go through the statistical probability that is attached to BTC versus the US dollar. And the advantage that we have with BTC is that because of the fact that we have a very lively option chain to this, we sort of get a future view in terms of what the market thinks about forward movement. So if you haven't seen me do this before, if you're new to this, what we're looking for is we take the current price of BTC, which is just a little bit over 11,000 as I record this. So what we're going to do is we're going to focus on the $11,000 strike in Deribit, and we're going to go out about a month or so. This is 26 days out, which is about a month. And this gives us a good shot to understand how the market is processing forward movement in its mind. What are the market participants thinking about where the market's going in the near future? So this is not us with our confirmation bias and all the frailties that come with humanity. This is the overall market that's trading options against BTC versus the US dollar and what they think. So this is a very, objective way to look at this. Now, what we're going to do with this is called the at the money straddle that we're going to calculate. So all we have to do is to come out here and look at what are the calls, what's the average price of the calls at the money What's the average price of the puts at the money? And we're going to average those two together, and that's called the at the money straddle. So if we add these two values together, kind of the midpoint in here, I calculated this a couple of minutes ago as being 1630. So the market has a 68.2% chance of falling or rising 1,630 points. That is the expected move going forward over the month. Almost a 3,200 point range. And there's a 68.2% chance that the price is going to be within that probability cone. Let's go back to the chart and assign these statistical probabilities to the actual price chart. Now, what I've done here is I've got the red line, and this represents the 28th of August, which is that expiration date for those options. So we're going to raise this up just a little bit more to give ourselves some room. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go over here to this and add this arc. And the way that we're going to add the arc is we're going to set the two reference points. And if we add plus minus 1,630 points to the current price of Bitcoin, we're going to find that the upper expected move target is going to be about 12,665. Right there. And then I'm going to go down here and set the bottom level, which is going to be 9405. So all the way down here, 9405. And that's pretty close. And then what I'm going to do is just drag this out. And there's our probability curve for the rest of this month into the end of August. 68.2% chance that the price could be as high as 12,665 or as low as 9405. Now, understand that this statistical analysis that we do through options has no correlation to technical analysis. So for those of you that are saying, wait a minute, I thought that you said 10,000 was support level. Well, it is. This is where you can get some interesting effects, because if you know that there is a lot of, should we say, support down here, underlying demand, if there's a bid below the price, probably around 10,000 or so, then what we can do is we can use this probability as the price comes down to here, we can be selling puts underneath the $10,000 level, which should be fairly safe. And if the price did happen to go down there and did happen to assign us, then we're not just sitting there with a limit order at 10,000. This allows us to get a much lower strike price fill as well as being paid for it to begin with. So that's the huge edge that options gives you if you understand how to use them to not only manage risk, but give yourself a slight trading edge. So as I go through the top 10, we're pretty much getting the same effect everywhere. Ethereum is actually consolidating much better. This is more of a high wave candle with a very small real body. There's about 2 hours left in the trading day at this point with very small real body, and that's good. This is the type of consolidation that I wanted to see. Ripple is doing exactly the same thing. Boy, that is almost a long-legged doji there. That's an amazing candlestick. And we're seeing pretty much the same thing as we go across the top 10. A lot of indecision coming in, people getting nervous, perhaps holding things. Now, Cardano has got a really nice consolidation pattern setting up here. A break above about 15 cents would be a long pattern. So a lot of these are still setting up nicely. And we should see the top 10 probably doing a little bit of shake and bake as we go through this week. This is the time of year where we sometimes don't get a whole lot of movement. We just see assets kind of playing the shell game, moving from one to another. Here's Chainlink. Chainlink has broken above there. That swing that we set up a couple of days ago, last week, has played out for right now. Again, we want to have specific targets to take profits on something like this. Don't get too greedy with these moves if you're just playing these as a trade. So to me, the nicest looking setup for today is one of the ones that these altcoins that I am constantly watching, because this has been a really nice play for us for a while, which is Ocean versus the BTC, Ocean Protocol. And so I'm going to put the RSI Laguerre in here to show you the amount of energy that this thing has. So this has obviously had a nice couple of strong days breaking out of a flag pattern to the upside. A lot of energy sitting here. Not much of the weekly chart, but that has never really stopped Ocean before. So to me, this is probably the best looking long for today. If you want to be more conservative, wait until the price breaks above 2100 on good volume. The volume has been pretty good on this whole rally up here, including the breakout move 2 days ago that was seen. So that's the Friday move, good volume on that Friday move. We're going to need more volume than that for this to break above 2100. Remember, no altcoins are allowed to break out to get the whack-a-mole treatment. So this might be just good for a trade. Look for the weekly swing, or I should say the average swing length of this, and don't get too greedy on any upside breakout. That is today's report. Thanks for listening. Have a great week. We'll see you tomorrow.